Redditors who have lived at a party house where people would hang out at on Saturday nights. Did you enjoy living there? What was your experience like? It won't be just on Saturdays for your information. Yeah, I was really confused by that part. That's just enjoying the weekend. It was like living life on pause. I made no progress in my life during those 5 years. That sums up my experience pretty well. Basically just threw away 3 years of my life working a crap job and developing a drinking problem. I have lived in a few places like that. Nobody really meant for those places to become party houses at first, but when there are 6 broke fricks living in one place it just kinda happens. People show up. It was definitely fun at times, but it gets old. Drugs and drinking and half-naked people are fun until there is a fist fight or something catches fire or some dude doesn't take kindly to being peed on for sleeping propped up on the goddamn front door, or, notably, when one of the roommates breaks up with his girlfriend while blind drunk and then goes into the attic with an axe and starts trying to take out load-bearing beams. Living a quiet life now and much better for it. I lived in a constant party house in Winston-Salem, NC in the mid-late 90s. Most of the best stories of my life were from that period, but it wasn't all beer, fun, and casual hookups. It seemed like constant cleanup. We, the residents, had to hide alcohol food so drunks didn't consume it, and I had enough CDs stolen to open a record store. A few fights broke out over the years. The police were called a handful of times, and so many of my belongings got stolen or broken I lost track. But I knew everybody in town, always had girlfriends, and there were some great stories and laughs. I have zero desire to go back to anything resembling that lifestyle, though. I had many fraternity guy friends that lived in party houses and I wasn't envious. As a girl I could come for the fun times and leave when I wanted. My friends had girls pee in their backyard, people throwing up everywhere, all personal belongings damaged, but dang, it was fun. Until somebody burned a pizza and decided that it would be okay to run the whole thing, the pan and the pizza, through our brand new dishwasher. Let me just clean this pizza for you. Jesus Christ, this question brings back crazy memories. I pretty much lived with my best friend during high school. His parents were C-kids who happened to live in a big 2-story house that they inherited. His parents did not give a frick about anything. Literally anything. At the time I thought they were really cool because I smoked my first joint over there and had my first big parties over there, but let me tell you, those kids are frick now. People would pee on the floor, throw up everywhere, anything you can think of. At the time I thought it was awesome, but man, I am lucky to have went in a different direction. One morning I woke up to his dad scanning every inch of the floor on his hands and knees. I didn't realize till later that he was looking for crack. Crap is just crazy. Frickin' C-kids, man. I lived in a row of townhouses down the street from the college. So it wasn't just a party house, it was a whole party block. Honestly, it was pretty freaking awesome. If you wanted to throw a bash, you just crank the tunes and sit out on the porch and see who else is popping out to check what's going on. You'd have 5-6 houses bumping and you'd go back and forth between them all. If you wanted a quiet night, you just lock the door and there's bound to be other people partying at any given night, so it's not like you'd get bothered, aside from maybe some noise. I had an awesome time living there. So many random nights with random folks. As a really social person, it was heaven. 10 of us moved into a stupid big 9-bedroom mansion just a few blocks from our college campus. It was an absolute riot, and luckily all the bedrooms were on the 2nd and 3rd floor, so the 1st floor was free to be rowdy town. With so many people living in the house, at least a few of the residents were down to get the party started every night of the week. We built a DJ booth for music to be spun out of, sold all the acid we didn't eat to keep the good times financed, and generally drank enough to inflate liquor companies' stocks. The experience was awesome, and that group is some of my closest friends even over a decade later, and we are spread across the country. But something like 3 of us dropped out of school, and if the house hadn't been big enough to escape the party, and I think we would have murdered each other. The most important part of living in a party house: keep all your food and booze in your own room's fridge, and lock your dang room. One story to show how big the house was: in the middle of the night someone fell down one of the stairs, hard. They crashed into the wall at the stair landing and smashed through the drywall, only to reveal a room that had been walled off and had no door but 3 windows. We covered the whole to the secret room with a tapestry, referred to as the portal, and hung out in there for no good reason from time to time. When we moved out we filled it with all the furniture no one wanted and repaired the drywall like new. Moved to my brother's house from another province after flunking out of college. I was depressed and played WoW in my parents' basements for a few years before my brother gave me the invitation. I was an awkward 21-year-old with no friends and no ambitions. My brother was a guitarist in a popular local band. The entire band lived in the house together. It was probably the best time I had in my life, to be honest. I made so many friends through my brother's social circles. I learned how to drink, smoke weed, and the lead singer got me a job in an oil field fabrication shop. From there I was able to eventually open a small inspection business with a friend. I married the band manager's sister eventually, and I am happily married with 2 children. The friends and experiences I gained living there gave me a huge advantage in life and pushed me through one of the biggest slumps of my life. I owe a lot to my brother for inviting me and dragging me out of my misery. 10 years later I am doing very well and he is a recovering alcoholic, so that kind of lifestyle can have its pitfalls as well. All things aside, I wouldn't trade those 5 years for anything in the world. It was only for the last 3 months of my lease, but honestly, great. I've never had so much fun. I got to spend hours on my porch shooting the crap with my friends and we built a small sense of community that's continuing even after I left. Cleanup was a B and I was operating on not as much sleep as I should have been. And I was drinking, honestly way too much because it coincided with some emotional issues going on, but I had a support group and I was always safe getting home because I was home. I'd do it again. It started great, ended horrible. At first it was just me and 4 of my closest friends. We would hang out, drink beer, and smoke a little weed. It somehow progressed to us selling ounces of coke and molly at a time to people we barely knew, having huge parties where people we didn't know would show up and steal from us, and other generally bad stuff. When it was all said and done, one of us knocked up a random girl, one of our friends committed suicide, drug related, and 2 of us had drug charges, luckily minor. I think most of us were ready to settle down for a bit after that. Fun times looking back, but it definitely took a toll. I don't talk to most of them anymore. What happened to the guy who got the girl pregnant? I was the only girl in the house with 6 guys. One was my boyfriend when I was about 19. It was a house connected to a pizza place in a sketchy neighborhood. It wasn't just a party on Saturday nights, it was almost every single day. The floors were never not sticky. All my food, coffee etc got eaten. I had to literally hide everything in my bedroom. Dishes were so disgusting many times I just threw them away instead of attempting to wash them. Now that I'm an adult, 31, I look back at these parts and cringe, but the truth is it was mostly very fun. Always people around to hang out with, lots of crazy stories. Getting snowed in was a blast. I loved throwing parties, especially Halloween themed parties. I don't regret it, but I also don't understand how I lived like that. The bad part was cleaning up after people, especially the bathrooms, plus having to lock your bedroom door so your stuff doesn't get broken or stolen, or having other people using your bed to make love on. It's cool for a while, but it gets to be a real pain. Cleanup was bad, no matter how hard you scrubbed. Around midday when the sun was shining through the windows on the floor, a hint of stale booze would fill the air. The hot tub had to be drained almost every weekend because of someone thinking they needed to bang in it instead of upstairs. I would find cigarette butts in the strangest places. If you wanted a chill weekend to just rest in peace, you needed to find somewhere else to live. I would either wake up to a nice surprise like a girl crawling into bed with me I hardly knew, or a really crappy prank that only my buds could have thought up. There was an instance with a vacuum I don't wanna get into. All of it was worth it though. The memories that were made in that house over the brief year we lived there I will have forever. I actually still have the key to the front door of that house on my keychain, and that was almost 7 years ago now. For obvious reasons the locks were changed. What we called the party house, the landlord called a nice, quiet suburban home. Clearly she didn't see the potential. There was an instance with a vacuum I don't wanna get into. I feel like you kind of have to now you've mentioned it. I really liked it for the first couple of months, but then it got tedious. If I was sick or didn't want to do anything I felt like I couldn't say no, because that was the party house. so I'd end up being kept awake by loud music and drunk people, and if they knew I was sober they'd always want me to drive them to Taco Bell or something at 2 AM when I wanted to be asleep. The good news was we could make love as loud as we wanted and nobody could hear us over the music. I just read that as you trading flesh in exchange for Taco Bell. I lived in a house of 6 guys, and generally we had the same group of 12 people hang with us. It was awesome. We had great times, smoked a ton of weed, drank a ton of beer, good times by all. Sometimes we expanded and had 20-30 people and that was great too. The problem was when random people started showing up and suddenly we have 200 people there and guns going off and people bleeding all over the house. That was not fun. So normal sized party equals good. Freshman fest equals crappy. Townie fest equals call the cops and apologize later. They cool though. I was one of 2 female bartenders at a college party house in West Philadelphia. I didn't live in the house full time but I spent about as much time there as I did at my own apartment. My boyfriend at the time and his roommates rented the apartment and threw the parties. He and I basically shared a bedroom. You can make bank in tips. My best night had me walking away with around $600 in 10s and 5s. More than once, someone has tried to stuff a single into my bra. The cleaning never ends. You're always finding solo cups lodged in weird places, mystery stains on the walls, the occasional glass shard here and there, a soiled thong in your trash can, other random clothing articles, and lots of beer spills. The floors were perpetually sticky, even after hours of mopping. It never quite went away fully, like it was soaked into the tile grout. We once found a steak knife stuck in the wall of the upstairs bathroom. No explanation ever arose. On party nights, the bedroom doors were locked from the moment the front door opened until the last drunk person stumbled out. No exceptions. You'll be amazed at what people thought they could get away with stealing, and we were having none of that with our personal belongings. It was a weird feeling, like the place you sort of lived in and felt very at home in was temporarily not yours for one whole night every week. I'm not a big partier by nature, and being drunk isn't terribly appealing to me, but being the only sober person in the room can actually be quite entertaining. Some drunk guy tried to sing me a song about how I was a goddess, beer wench and an angel. It was charming, until we found him passed out on the front porch an hour later. I enjoyed my time there and I look back on it fondly, but I'm glad that it's not my life anymore. Getting busted by the police is scary AF. Having to watch people like a hawk to prevent roofies was stressful. And my god, the cleaning, the beer smell, the vandalism, it can quickly get overwhelming. I've spent a lot of times at party houses, and a lot of time having the party house, and I'd much rather be the visitor than the resident. As a visitor, you can come and go as you please. If you want a night off, you just don't show, but if you're the resident, you don't really get quiet nights, except maybe a few here and there. Also, as a resident, you realize how much people expect free stuff and to always have stuff on hand. Crap gets broken, crap gets dirty, and few offer to help with either. I always stayed the night to help clean up the next day, and if I was the first one up I would make a run to McDonald's and buy food for everyone in the house. Oftentimes I worked when there were parties and the parties were never planned ahead of time, so I would be told about it while at work and could never grab booze on time. Buying food and helping clean up was my way of making up for that. Lived in a frat house in college for 3 years. Waking up to full kegs every day, sorority girls making pancakes and smoking blunts and some of the most outrageous crap you'll ever see. I think that given my age at the time, 18-21, it was really exciting. I knew it would be temporary and that would be the only time in my life I could experience something like that without major responsibilities. The parties were pretty much every 2-3 days, but crazy crap happened in between too. I've seen everything from people fricking in the middle of our living room to people setting crap on fire for the frick of it. Mostly it was a lot of drinking and loud music, which was pretty cool but wore out its welcome. By the time I was a senior I was pretty fed up with it. Having my place of residence wrecked every few days, not having quiet hours or me time because at any given point there were at least 10 people in the house, not to mention not getting any of my security deposit back because of the massive damages to the house. I wouldn't go back and do it again, but I'm glad I lived there. I think it made a huge difference in my development as a person and the way I prefer my living arrangements now. Your IKEA is stroking out, man. Hurley house was always a party. 20-40 people every night. Hiding beer and toilet paper to make sure you had some later was super fun until the drive-by. How is drive-by so casually thrown in? Think we need some details. Some of my friends did. 5 guys in their early 20s. I usually ended up crashing on the stained mattress behind the scatter ramp in the living room. Disgusting place to wake up the morning after. Usually took the first early bus home. I didn't live in a party house, but a party dorm on a campus that really didn't write you up for underage drinking unless you were being a complete butthole. Pretty much every night of the week there were people hanging out and drinking on the 4th floor lounge. Every Monday we had Malt Mondays where someone would go around knocking on doors and taking orders of 40s of malt liquor. Then they would go on a booze run, and when they came back everyone would come outside and hang out drinking 40s and listening to music until security came and told us we had to take it inside. One day we had a game of golf that involved most of the dorm. That was insane. The way golf is played is that every room was a hole and it was your duty as the host of the room to provide a special drink or shot for people. Then you'd hang out for a bit and move to the next room. There were like 30-40 people playing, so it was nuts. The first hole we did was in the bathroom shotgunning beers, so all of us cramped in there, some in the stalls and in the showers, and counted down until we all started drinking our beers. I know someone took pictures of that and I wish I could find it, but I don't know who it was. We also had an ultimate frisbee team called Tron, but it was mostly a reason for us to hang out and day drink while tailgating the games. On weekends you would wake up to the sound of people yelling Tron, rallying everyone to go to the field for the game. I had a lot of fun the 3 years I lived there and a lot of great memories that I don't regret at all. Even though there were times when I was sick or studying that I would have preferred it to be quiet, I knew what I was getting into when I chose to live there. This sounds fun as frick. It was a nightmare because I didn't want my home to be the party house, but my roommate didn't work and didn't give a frick. I worked full time, which meant several days of waking up at 4:30 am to be at work for 5:30 am. Roommate didn't care at all and would have people over every single night, drinking, smoking, being loud AF. I became the annoying nagging roommate because I had to constantly ask people to keep it down so I could get some sleep. The apartment was always a mess, littered with old food, garbage, cigarette butts, bong water stains. I gave up cleaning and cooking eventually because I wasn't about to clean up after him and his friends. The worst part was coming home after work to a huge party, like 50+ people in a 2-bedroom apartment. Roommate decided to throw a St. Patrick's Day party and not tell me. I couldn't even go to the washroom because there was a couple alternating between fricking and fighting in there. Worst year of my life. Fun for a while making toast and coffee before work while your housemate and friends are doing lines off of the kitchen table after a night of partying on a Tuesday gets old. You should consider using punctuation in your writing. I currently live there. I love it. It's pretty much known as just the house in our friend group. I'm a massive extrovert, so I enjoy packing the house with people every weekend. We tend to go clubbing on a Saturday, meet everyone out and bring them back at like 3 am and just keep partying till the evening on Sunday. Every weekend for a good 2 years at this point. The mess gets a bit much sometimes, but I find if we have it relatively clean beforehand it doesn't get too trashed. Good times. I lived in a house like this for a semester in grad school. Awful experience. Maybe others would have enjoyed it, but I'm an introvert who finds it very draining to be around people all the time. So to me my home is a haven of alone and quiet time. I didn't like coming in on a Saturday to people dancing to super loud music in our living room until 5 am or coming home on a Tuesday to people doing coke on our kitchen table, which was also being used as a board game table. Again, it wasn't bad per se, but it wasn't something I enjoyed. I started to spend all my time out or just stayed at school until very late. Someone just threw a keg out our window. We'll keep you posted. Frick no, I didn't. I wouldn't say people trashed my house, but there was definitely a give no crap mentality from people that my roommates brought over that they barely even knew. In the end I avoided most of the hits on my deposit except for some bulls charges. Would much prefer to go to someone else's house to party rather than to have it where I live, because at the end of the day I can just leave. Had to deadbolt my door to make sure no trashy fricks would try to steal or do whatever trashy crap you can think of in it. There was always booze, which I can't complain. Always party drinks. I never had to buy juice or soft drinks because people would bring it and drink the alcohol while leaving the soft crap. Cops constantly over. Neighbors hated us. All my roommates ended up dropping out after that year. It was like a trashy American Pie movie. It was fantastic until I had Mexican cartel members sleeping upstairs because my drug dealing buddy wanted to sell them some race horses. When my dad was deployed to Afghanistan, 16-year-old me and my older brother had the house to ourselves. Every weekend my place was the place to be for drinking, smoking and having good times. We somehow managed to keep it a pretty small crowd. Pretty much only our crew and some randoms. Sometimes it was a little stressful trying to make sure nothing gets broken and no one dies, but our friends were pretty good guys so it never got too out of hand. All in all, it was a great experience. I would do it again a million times over. It was the best time of my life. This pirate hamster is here to steal all of your cheese. Subscribe in 2.15 seconds or he'll do it. Thanks for watching. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day, you magnificent people.